I think there are many trios matches that would be incredibly interesting. I think uh, Warp Speed versus the Elite slash Don Callis family, Young Bucks and Okada versus JetSpeed and Kushida. I think that is a dream match.
Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your True Heel Phenom SP3, back once again with an exclusive interview for the Takedown on Sports Illustrated SI. And this time we are speaking to AEW's own Speedball Mike Bailey. How are you doing, Speedball?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I'm very excited to talk to you. This is my fourth interview with you. You are officially the wrestler that I've talked to the most. This the second time I'm speaking to you in 2025. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
honored to talk to you once again.
Yeah, well, it's an honor for me as well. You've talked to me a lot of different stages of my career, and I'm glad you've been there for the entire process.
I know, and it's funny enough that we're talking about your upcoming documentary, Keep It Kayfabe, because I actually talked to Michael and Christian, and I told them I was like, I got to talk to Mike for the first time right before that weekend for WrestleMania weekend in WrestleMania 39 in 2023 in Los Angeles. So when I saw the trailer, I instantly knew what weekend they filmed with you. But kind of give us kind of go back all the way. How did you get connect with Michael and Christian, the directors of the documentary Keep It Kayfabe, and what draw you to those two to kind of document your entirely very busy weekend in Los Angeles?
Right. So, as a professional wrestler, I get a lot of offers for things like this, which often turn out to not be legitimate, to not have a foundation. But so Michael hit me up first, and he kind of sent me what Overlay Films had done before, and it was really amazing stuff, right? There really wasn't an example of a documentary, but the way he explained to me what he wanted to do really felt special and really felt like something I could get behind, because I think it's what wrestling as an art form really needs right now. And the fact that Christian was part of it too, and he was not familiar with professional wrestling as an art form, really understood it, right? And that their project was going to address both the inner workings for people who are pro wrestling fans already, and I think makes a fantastic introduction for people who aren't familiar with the art form of professional wrestling, and because it really addresses the question of, yeah, but isn't it fake that people have all the time? I mean, I think this documentary, because it's a very complex question, is pro wrestling fake, right? In ways it is, in certain ways it's not, and the documentary does a fantastic job answering that question.
So kind of gonna go through like how you kind of went about this whole scenario. Did you kind of just not change anything? Did you want to have something that you wanted to get across in the documentary? Kind of tell us your approach to the documentary since we already talked to Michael and Christian.
Yeah, so I had absolutely no approach to the documentary, which was great. But that's what they wanted to begin with, right? WrestleMania weekend for the last 3 years for me has been just a celebration of professional wrestling, where I get to do just that, nothing but that, as much as I can, and get completely absorbed in trying to have as many matches in as few days as possible. And they just wanted to capture that, and it's raw, it's real. What you see is exactly what I would have done whether there was a camera pointed at me or not. So I think they really nailed it from that perspective.
So I asked Michael and Christian also kind of what was the match that stood out to them the most from the documentary. Now, when I asked you, which match are you kind of most excited to look back on from that weekend in WrestleMania weekend in 2023?
It's an impossible question to answer for me, because that entire weekend just feels like a blur, and I am just, again, I am entirely focused on what I'm doing at the time, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this is why I like the documentary so much. This is why I think they did such a good job, because having three professional wrestling matches in one day is incredibly difficult, and you don't just go out there and do it. There's a ton of planning and deliberation and communication and art that goes behind it, and I am so focused on everything, and I can't even separate those 3 days into days, or even less into matches. For me, it's all one event that just never stopped for 72 hours.
And one of the most fascinating things about the documentary that I got across from them was kind of the language of professional wrestling, because you were wrestling guys from Mexico, from Japan. You had the Vikingo matchup, and then you had a Kota Ibushi matchup, and they thought that that was kind of, especially for Christian, who's not really the wrestling fan, he said that was kind of the thing that kind of got him the most, was seeing how you communicate, how you kind of mime things. So how did you kind of like develop the language of pro wrestling? Is it something that you just initially get into when you're training, or is something that you have to develop over a number of years?
It is pro wrestling. That is pro wrestling. Pro wrestling is a language. Uh, I say it in the documentary, right? And I truly mean it. And I don't remember the exact words I used that they have on film, but it's something like, if you really wanted to get the general public to understand professional wrestling and really appreciate it, you would show them the whole process. Because what you see on TV or at a show is really just the tip of the iceberg. If you want to see the entire pro wrestling, then you have to see two people who will fly in from different countries, talk to each other in different languages, but still pro wrestling speak for 20 minutes, then shake hands, meet back in the ring, and perform a flawless fight scene that needs to be good for all angles and interact with the audience, and needs to work in just one take. And I mean, that entire thing is the beauty of professional wrestling. And again, there is so much negative media around professional wrestling outside of what is shown on TV, right? You see all the documentaries and shoot interviews focus on, you know what I mean, all the bad things pro wrestlers have done, the negative interactions that happen backstage. But what you can see when you watch the film, which is what most of professional wrestling ends up being, is just people working together to create art that transcends language or nationality, or, you know what I mean, gender or
Yeah.
anything like that. It all just comes together. And most professional wrestlers, especially nowadays, modern pro wrestling is about cooperation and kindness.
So I gotta ask this, because the last time we spoke was right after you officially debuted for AEW, right before kind of Dynasty, and you were in the tournament for the International Championship, and now you're kind of in the week to week grind of doing TV, professional wrestling on television. Do you miss the days of doing 3 matches in one day and working on the independent scene and having 10 matches in 3 days? What's kind of like been the biggest difference for you being on pro wrestling television in comparison to those days on the indies?
I do. I still have that itch to perform all the time, but again, I don't work any less hard now that I'm on AEW and I do less matches. I just get to train harder in between those matches and focus my energy on that one match that I'm going to have. But the one thing that I really love about All Elite Wrestling is that it really has that independent wrestling spirit, right? And that, you know what I mean? Tony Khan is the booker, he makes the shows, but the wrestlers still have a lot of say in what they do. And what I love about AEW is that it presents true pro wrestling on television in a way where the wrestlers decide what they do. It isn't overly produced. It's still raw, the way that, in my opinion, pro wrestling should be.
So, like I said, when we talked back in March, you were getting ready. You're in that international title tournament, and you were talking to me. The focus of that interview was about wanting that matchup with Kenny Omega, and you got to have kind of what you wanted, but in a different way, with a 3-way matchup with Ricochet and Kenny Omega at AEW Dynasty. So, kind of tell us about that experience, being in the ring with Kenny Omega, something that you said that you were fighting for so many years, And is there a part of you that does want to check off that list of getting one-on-one you and Kenny Omega in AEW?
Absolutely. I mean, I think Kenny Omega, as he said in interviews leading up to his match with Okada, he might be on the tail end of his in-ring career, but as he proved in that match with Okada, he can still go and he can still perform, and I would still like to have a singles match with Kenny Omega, but I think that three-way at Dynasty really was everything that it should have been, and to be, on AEW at the highest level, we're the best wrestle and get to have a almost 30-minute three-way match in front of a fully engaged audience, and I think that match creatively had three performers who were at their peak, completely free, and just putting on the best match that we could have done that day.
And you've done so much in a short amount of time in All Elite Wrestling, like that three-way matchup with Ricochet and Kenny Omega. You got to versus Kazuchika Okada at Double or Nothing, and then this past 2 weekends ago now, you got to be a part of an historic event in front of the largest audience in North America for All Elite Wrestling at All In. Kind of what has been kind of like that progression for you over the last couple of months, just coming into AEW 4 months ago. And how was that experience, especially All In, performing in front of one of the largest audiences that I'm sure AEW's had in North America, but for you personally, one of the largest audience you've got to be perform in front of?
Yeah, I got to wrestle in front of 30,000 people at All In, and that was absolutely a mind-blowing event. I mean, the match was fantastic. It's been great. I've always taken pro wrestling extremely seriously, and I've always given every single match my best, whether it was in front of 10 or 300 or 30,000 people. I've always given it my all. But easily the best part of wrestling for AEW has been the enormous reach that I've gotten, and how many more people get to see my matches, and the reception that I get, the feedback that I get online has been overwhelmingly positive from the AEW audience, and that's been great. And that's why I think it's the perfect time for a documentary like this to come out, right? Because I think it tells the story of a focused independent wrestler who tries very hard in order to get to the kind of place in pro wrestling that AEW is providing me right now. And I mean, I hope that watching this and knowing that I am where I am now, performing, for the best pro wrestling promotion in the entire world in front of 30,000 people, that I was an independent wrestler, and that there are tons like me out there right now who are some of the world's best wrestlers and are going to be on television performing in giant arenas. The larger audience might just not know it yet, but there is such a vast amount of untapped talent out there right now.
And like you just said, that reception, that feedback that you've been getting online, and you've been a big part about what AEW has been about in 2025 with just, I think, like fan reception wise, AEW is as popular as it was like in 2021, or even more popular right now. How does it feel to kind of be one of those people that people point to, like, oh, Speedball signed with this company and they've kind of taken off to another level? How does it feel to be a part of that?
I mean, I can't really speak to what AEW was like before I was there, because obviously
Yeah.
I wasn't there. But I mean, I think, not to sound too, self-involved, but I think hiring Speedball Mike Bailey was a great decision for AEW. And while I can take credit for the success that the company has had in 2025, I mean, I think that hiring people, like if you look at the list of recent signings, right, and I think where the company is going is in an incredibly positive direction. And I mean, I think if you know me, if you've wrestled with me, if I've performed on your show, you can say that I'm a wrestler who tries very hard to put on the best matches for the audience and make sure that anyone who bought a ticket to the show or is watching it on TV has a memorable night, and that the entire show is all, not just my match selfishly, but the entire show works well and give, the customer, the audience, the best experience. And I think that everyone that they've hired this year, like talking about Kevin Knight, Megan Bain, Josh Alexander, Tekla, those are all people who have the same mindset and work really hard to make sure that AEW is the best promotion in the world. And I think right now backstage, that is the mindset, and that is certainly the attitude. That's where everyone is going. And I mean, I think that the teamwork and the fact that everyone knows that we're heading in a great positive direction and we're doing things that have not been done, that have never been done, you know, All In being the largest gate by a company outside of the the previous number one company is
You
unprecedented.
brought up someone else that's recently signed with AEW, and it's your tag team partner, Kevin the Jet Knight. And I've seen you tag with so many different people. One of my interviews with you was when you were a part of Speedball Mountain in TNA Impact with Trent Seven. I've seen you with Mao and DDT and GCW. How does Kevin Knight compare to all your previous tag team partners, and what makes JetSpeed such this special tag team that can basically accomplish even more in AEW?
I think that there is a lot being made right now about thrown together tag teams, and that's kind of a buzzword that goes around, right? But I in Japan, sort of the model for the shows is there's 4 6-man tags on the card and 1 or 2 singles matches, right? Because you
Yeah.
have to get everyone on a show, and kind of that was my mentality for tag team wrestling. I mean, I've always been in tag teams. I've always done tag team matches, but I've there are a few people that there has been so much chemistry that we're able to make a unit and really make something out of it. And all of those happened absolutely randomly. Uh, Mao in DDT just started because he and I did a really cool dive together in a match that we had, and the president of DDT was wrestling in that match, and he was like, "Yeah, that's great. We need that dive that you guys did together on every show. So you're a tag team now." Same thing with Jake Something. It was just a match we had on DPW, random thrown together tag team match, but we worked great as a team. Again, Trent Seven, same thing. Just got thrown together in TNA, had great chemistry, made things work because Mao, Jake Something, Trent Seven, and also Kevin Knight are people that have the same mentality that I do. People that have, there's all points in common that make us working together work, right? Like Mao in DDT, we were both about just doing cool things, which sounds simple, but again, not everyone approaches planning matches this way. But we just wanted to have fun, do cool things, do wrestling that we liked, and we liked the same wrestling. Same thing with Jake Something. We liked having the same kind of matches. We like going hard. Jake Something is someone who puts so much incredible effort behind everything he does, and he never backs away from a challenge. And so that was our approach to making tag team matches, was just we're going balls out every single time. And Trent Seven, I mean, if you look at his history, he and I both have the same past of being independent wrestlers for the most time. He led the boom of British independent wrestling, so he understands the correlation between have a banger, sell lots of t-shirts, make more money, help the promotion grow, bring in more fans. So right? So the
Yeah.
motivation to have good matches is not always a given, right? But Kevin Knight has that as well. He's seen it. He started wrestling in America, but made his name in New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he's learned very quickly that if you have good matches, the audience latches onto you. You get more popular. You get more bookings. You get put in a better promotion, and he really learned that this happens, but also it's different among different countries. You have to wrestle differently in Japan and wrestle differently in America, but still able to take the best parts of both of them. And that's why when me and Kevin Knight, we were in a 4-on-4 all-star tag team match, and we worked great in that. And then it was us in a tag team against the Young Bucks, and I think Kevin Knight really showed out in that match, and we both came to the table with many ideas for what we should be like as a tag team, how this match should go, and they were the same ideas. We both had a list of things that we should do, and they were the same, because that's how good wrestling works. Good wrestling just makes sense, and you don't have to force it. It just happens, and that's how it was with Kevin Knight. every step of the way. And so that's why I'm so happy that we made JetSpeed a thing, and that's why I wanted to keep going for long enough for us to at least get the AEW tag team titles.
And you guys have excelled in tag team action, in multi-man action, like you said before. And I got the chance to speak to one of Kevin Knight's one of his other tag team partners in Kushida. And Kushida said something interesting where he said he would be interested in coming to AEW and teaming up with the both of you. So what would you say about a trio of kind of the Jet Setters and Jet Speed coming together? And what would you call it?
Oh, I don't know what we'd call it. I mean, it would have to be intergalactic jet speed. Maybe warp speed. I think warp
I
speed
like
might
that.
have to be it. I think that kind of makes sense, though. It's a little heavy on the speed and not. I don't know. We could workshop maybe intergalactic warp speed. I don't know. There's something there. It's kind of easy with the space vehicle type
Yeah.
vibe. But no, I've had many matches with Kushida. I've had I think 4 singles matches with Kushida, as well as several tag team matches, and I think he is one of the best wrestlers in the world, especially at what he does. I think there is not a single pro wrestler that understands themselves and is able to maximize their skill set in the way that Kushida does, and I think that is a gift that Kushida gave Kevin Knight, is to really understand what you do best and learn how to focus on it and use it. And so, yeah, absolutely. I think there are many trios matches that would be incredibly interesting. I think Warp Speed versus the Elite / Don Callis family, Young Bucks and Okada versus Jet Speed and Kushida. I think that is a dream match.
Right to self. I would love to see that for sure. So, kind of going back to the documentary, Keep It Kayfabe, what would Speedball of 2025 tell Speedball of 2023 filming this documentary of kind of how far you've come in just 2 years?
I would want to grab myself by the cheeks, give myself a nice little gentle headbutt, and say, "You're doing fucking great. Keep pushing. Your career is going exactly where you want it to, and you're going to end up exactly where you want to be. So just keep doing your best."
I always love how positive you are, and that's exactly what I expected you to tell Speedball of 2 years ago. But I want to thank you so much, Mike, for your time. I always love, enjoy talking to you. And like you said, I've kind of talked to you at different stages of your career, and I know this won't be the last time. So please let the people know where they can follow you, where they could see Keep It Kayfabe, which I know is debuting in San Diego Comic-Con, if I'm correct, right?
That's right, San Diego Comic-Con Thursday at 8 p.m., followed by a Q&A. So I'm super excited for that. Overlay Films on Instagram, on social media, is where you can find the producers of the documentary. I'm at Speedball Bailey on Instagram, Speedball Mike Bailey on YouTube. Watch the vlogs there. I stream at twitch.tv/SpeedballBailey. Watch AEW Dynamite on TBS Wednesdays at 8 p.m. and Collision at 8 p.m. on Saturday on TNT.
That is Speedball Mike Bailey. I am SP3. This has been an exclusive interview for the Takedown on Sports Illustrated SI. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.